Hello to all you IHB beefcakes. My name is Dominic Demore, and thank you for tuning in to the second best thing you will hear all week. We have a great show for you today that includes a top-notch film review of a bottom-notch movie.
Oh, God.
Along with the box office results from last week, in which some surprising events took place.
Leave me alone.
But we're here also to offer our opinions and our insights on the topic. So without further ado, this is the I've Had Better podcast, and let's kick it off. James, what do we have for the fans this week?
This week, Tom and I went and saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Not together, of course.
No, we couldn't coordinate that together.
No, different schedules. Tough life. Tom, what'd you think of the movie?
All right, just to give a little bit of a background, this is the sequel to the rebooted franchise from producer Michael Bay, and this story takes place a couple of years after the events of the first one. The Turtles are now dealing with the fact that they are the heroes of New York, but they don't get any of the credit because nobody knows who they are, and they're struggling with the idea of staying hidden. Like Michelangelo and Raphael want to go out and be among the people and just reveal themselves. Leonardo and Donatello are more of the, no, we should stay hidden. People aren't ready for us, / we can do much better work if people don't know we're there. Along the way, they also have to deal with the fact that the villain from the first film, the Shredder, has escaped from jail, and he's teaming up with some of the classic cartoon characters, Bebop, Rocksteady, and Commander Krang, in an attempt to dominate the world. So that's the basic background of the film. Overall, it was extremely, extremely weak.
Yeah, I think you just gave us a better description of the movie than the movie itself.
Story-wise, it just didn't do a solid job of explaining anything. And everything was just kind of thrown together in a very rushed way, it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like they made the movie in 2014. I think that's when the first one came out. And they're like, oh, it did well. Let's do a sequel. Get moving on it right now.
Yeah. I mean, it felt long at times, too, which is weird because they rushed everything. And the first one was so much better. The extra reboot.
Which is saying so, because, I mean, I don't hate the first one. I don't think it's a particularly good movie.
No.
But,
I'm not saying that either, but it was a whole lot better than this one.
Yeah. For example, the story, which I just explained to you, and James said I probably did better. That's absolutely true, because you aren't really sure what's going on throughout this film. Like, is the story about the Turtles not being able to work together well because nobody trusts Leonardo as a leader, and Raph tries to do his own thing, and Mikey doesn't pay attention, and Donatello is too involved with his technology? Or is it about them becoming human? And then at the end, spoilers, again, as usual, our reviews are going to be spoiler heavy, but there's no real explanation to why they choose to stay turtles.
No, there's not.
No, there's no big,
I mean, the only thing I could think of is just that's what they've known and what they've always, became accustomed to.
Yeah, but there's no, moment where Master Splinter or even one of the Turtles or, God forbid, Megan Fox says, hey, accept who you are. This is who you are. This is who you're supposed to be. You don't have to change for anyone. There's no moment like that. It's just I wrote in my review, which you can find on www.ihbpodcast.com, that it just kind of felt like, hey, you guys want to be human or you want to be turtle? And then they throw the vial against the wall. And it's supposed to be some triumphant moment, but you're like, well, why did he choose that? What convinced Raphael that he didn't want to be a human anymore?
Yeah, and I don't like how Raphael just made the decision by himself.
Yeah.
Way to consult your brothers.
So that was interesting. How about you? What maybe something you liked about the movie?
I thought there were a couple of decent one-liners.
Yeah.
There's some funny moments. I think one of the funniest was when Michelangelo called Krang a piece of bubblegum with
Yeah,
a face.
chewed up bubblegum with the face, yeah.
And then I think Leonardo called him Bubblicious, which I thought was actually really funny.
Yeah, there's a couple of good lines.
Because that's exactly what he looks like. He's all pink, like a piece of gum, and there's saliva everywhere.
Yeah. For me, this might surprise you and a couple other people. I thought Megan Fox was the best actor in this movie.
Oh, God.
And
you might be right.
Yeah, and like I try not to say it sarcastically or anything, and she's not transcendent or anything like that, and it might help that she maybe has 30 lines of dialogue the entire movie, but at least she felt like real, I guess. Like
she felt normal.
Yeah, and she has a couple of solid line deliveries, like when Stephen Amell, who some of you may know from the TV show Arrow on CW, he plays Casey Jones, and we'll get to him in a minute. But he makes fun of the Turtles' names, and there's a really solid line delivery from Megan Fox where she's like, "Hey, I named them," and it was solid.
Yeah.
It also helps that 90% of the time she kind of just smiles and tilts her head in this movie,
which is kind of all you really need from her at
a
times.
little bit. So those are 2 positives. Can you name any other ones?
No.
Yeah, me either. I didn't even think it looked particularly great. Like,
some of the CGI was questionable.
Yeah.
And I've kind of, the Turtles looking this way have kind of grown on me a little bit. I don't mind it as much as I did in the first one.
Well, it helps that they definitely toned down the Turtles in this movie. They heard that people were like, why are they so giant? Donatello is, like, I was impressed with his design. They slimmed him down.
Yeah, he's much skinnier, taller.
Yeah.
Michelangelo's a lot shorter. Mm-hmm. Raphael is noticeably bigger than all 3 of them.
Yeah. And they made the shells a little smaller, because in the first one, it's like, holy shit, these shells are giant.
Yeah. And then kind of all the extra baggage was a little much for me.
Mm-hmm.
I like the simplistic of the original 3 Turtles, just with their weapons. 3 movies, I meant.
Oh, okay, gotcha. For the record, I just gave Jimmy a hand signal, and
there's 4 ninjas?
Yeah.
I'm looking at them. Thanks. But yeah, the original movies, I thought, did a better job of just the wardrobe of the Turtles.
Oh, there's no question that the fake prosthetic Ninja Turtles, I thought, look so much more real than the digital ones.
Yep. Which is amazing that it works that way.
It really is. What didn't you like?
Well, like you said earlier, was rushed. And then I felt like the movie didn't know what it was. Yeah. A lot of lines were directed towards kids. And then there were some lines that were more for teenagers. That's why it has the PG-13 rating. But it was just a little confusing on what direction they were going.
Yeah. Bebop and Rocksteady were clearly pointed towards kids.
Yeah.
With their dialogue.
Absolutely.
Because it was over the top, just screaming and fart jokes and literally farting at one point. Like, that's when you know that somebody just doesn't have a solid writing.
Yeah. Same thing with Krang. I thought Krang was just like a big kid. I mean, his dialogue was terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. There's a lot I don't like about this movie, so I'm just gonna kind of try to hit them quickly. First off, Stephen Amell, who I really like him as an actor. Not because he's a good actor, just because I like him. He's a good guy from everything I've heard. I follow him on Facebook, and he does a lot of stuff like to raise money for cancer, and he's great to his fans. And I like the TV show Arrow. This last season and the season before that was total crap, but I still watch the show. But his acting in this movie was awful. There wasn't a single line he delivered that felt natural, and his character is arguably the dumbest character I've ever seen on film.
Yeah, they turned Casey Jones into an idiot.
Yeah. For example, he has just met 4 mutant turtles. He's now in their lair, and they've already tricked him twice. Like the first time they said that they were evil aliens, came to eat humans. So they already played that joke on him, and he's aware that it was a joke. Now he's in their lair, and he sees Splinter in the background. And he's like, everybody freeze. There is a giant mutant rat back there. Like, Okay, it's in the turtles' lair, who are giant mutant turtles.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't think that they know about the giant mutant rat? And then they're like, you gotta come at him low and hard. And then he gets taken down by Splinter in an attempt just to draw out a joke, but it made the character look idiotic.
That's just another reason why I think it was. I mean, they're trying to make this movie for kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's a kids movie, but not a good kids movie.
No.
Like,
it shouldn't have been PG-13. They should have left it R and taken out some of the swear words.
Yeah.
I mean R. I mean G.
That too. Well, or gone the other way. Like, because I think the first one, I don't remember if it's R. I think it's just a hard PG-13. But and that one made money.
Mm-hmm.
People forget that it's one of the highest grossing independent movies of all time.
Impressive.
Yeah. Continuing on Casey Jones, the gimmick doesn't work in this one. Like the hockey mask wearing hockey player. First off, they force the whole "I really want to be a detective." No reason for that. I don't know if you noticed, but at one point, his hockey stick stops a ninja sword. Don't know how a piece of wood did that, but okay. This movie ignores a whole bunch of physics several times. Like turtles flying through the air at whatever terminal velocity is. You can do that math. And hitting the windshield of another airplane flying at whatever speed an airplane flies and nothing happening, glass not breaking or anything like that. But okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked because there's so many things wrong in this movie. Continuing on Stephen Amell. One of the great things about the older movies was the back and forth between April O'Neil and Casey Jones. They had that, like, they made fun of each other. It felt like they didn't like each other, but there was also that, like, kind of sexual tension that, like, these guys should get together. This movie felt like, hey, you're pretty. Hey, you're hot. We should be together. No build up for that. Absolutely no reason why that should have been in there.
Yeah, it was rushed, and I don't even think it was needed. They could have left. They could have done without their love interest at the end.
I agree. And
how about Will Arnett? Could he have mailed in?
I mean,
any bigger of a performance?
Yeah, he was unnecessary.
I feel like he played Will Arnett.
Oh yeah, he definitely played Will Arnett. I'm not a huge Will Arnett guy anyway. Like, I also saw Popstar this weekend, and he plays a role in that, and it was awful. Like, it's a short, small, like, cameo role, but it was just really bad.
Will Arnett seems like a great guy to hang out with. I just don't know if I want to see him in movies. Mm-hmm. Unless he's Batman in the Lego movie. He's got a terrific voice.
Yes, he does. I'd agree with that. Last point I'm going to make, and then we can give our final scores for the film, was it felt like there was no action in this film. And I feel like that added to what you were talking about earlier about the movie feeling slow and boring at points. Mm-hmm. Realistically, they fight 3 times, I think. One of them takes place on the previously mentioned airplane, where they're supposed to be fighting Bebop and Rocksteady, but I don't think anybody ever really throws a punch. There might be 2 punches, and then the airplane crashes. Oh, another physics thing. Pretty sure a tank floats down the river. Don't know how that happens, like military tank.
Yeah.
So that's one fight scene. And that's the only time Bebop and Rocksteady fight the turtles. Mm-hmm. Legendary turtle foes, the other humanoid animals in the film, and you fight once.
Yep.
Second time, I think they might punch a couple of ninjas. But there's only like 10 ninjas in this movie. I needed at least 100 ninjas.
Yeah, I mean, then at the beginning they did with the garbage truck.
Yeah, but that's them pushing buttons. They're not fighting.
Yeah.
Aside from Raphael jumping out of the back and clotheslining a couple of dudes, there's no fighting in that scene. And then finally is the fight against Krang at the end. But even that is cut in with Casey Jones fighting Bebop and Rocksteady, the mutated warthog and rhinoceros, and he wins. But not by doing anything. He just kind of outruns them, despite the fact that they're giant, huge animals who can run like 40 miles an hour, and the fact that they're riding motorcycles.
Apparently rollerblades are quicker.
Apparently. They must have had those Jackass rocket skates.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever worked in the Jackass films, but he got it to work. And they weren't even roller skates. He duct taped them on. How does that work? There's a lot of issues with this movie folks. And I'm a Ninja Turtles fan. I wanted to like it. Let's go into our rating system.
This may be one of my lowest ratings. I can't remember for sure, though. But I'm going to go with a 4. And it kills me because I love the Turtles so much. They're one of my favorite superhero. I mean, can I call them that?
Yeah, you can call them
movies.
Superheroes, yeah.
Because I watched the original 3 movies. I couldn't even tell you how many times. I think I have them on VHS and DVD.
Nice.
Completely
Doubling down.
It's not necessary, but just because there's no character development.
Mm-hmm.
Movie was slow. The CGI I could do without, but I get what they're trying to do. And this movie had no identity. It didn't know its audience, and for that reason, that's why it's so low. And there's plenty of reasons. I can go on and on. I don't want to take up that much time.
I hear you. For the record, on my review online, which you can find at www.ihbpodcast.com, I went 4.4. But after talking it out with you, I have to go with a 4 as well. Yeah, that extra 0.4 is not worth it. There's so much wrong with this movie. From the story to I don't really even think the directing was that great. Like you said, the CGI was spotty at points.
The writing.
The writing, the acting, the use of classic characters. And we didn't even talk about how they completely ruined Shredder. But, yeah.
It's very upsetting.
Yeah, I think a solid 4 from both of us is all that this movie deserves. Let us know what you guys thought of the movie, if you saw it, and I don't think a whole lot of you did, judging by the box office, which we will get to in a moment. But you can hit us up on Twitter or on Facebook. You can use the hashtag IHB Movies on either, and we will see it. And let us know what your rating out of a potential 10 apples is.
Next up, we have the box office battle, a competition for bragging rights between friends who want nothing more than to prove they know more than the other guy. And who buys the first round of drinks of week this course.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's just roll through it. We're going to ignore the flub. You had a rough week at the box office, so it makes sense you would screw up the read.
Shut up, man. Always putting me down. You got to treat this like golf. I hit a bad shot, give me a slap on the butt. You hit a great shot, I'll give you a high five.
Why do I got to touch your ass and all you got to do is give me a high five?
Because I hit a bad shot.
Okay.
Come on. Do better next time.
You need more encouragement. I get it.
Always putting me down. How the game works is each week, my co-host and I will predict the top 5 films at the box office. Some get them right, some get them really wrong. Whoever gets the closest to the correct order wins the point for the week. Dom, go ahead. Do it.
All right. The results for last week's box office are... Taking the top spot in what can only be described as an underwhelming debut was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Out of the Shadows, which James and I just reviewed, earning only $35.2 million. Second place goes to X-Men Apocalypse, earning $22.3 million, a 65% drop from its premiere last weekend. In the third spot was the debuting romantic film Me Before You, taking home $18.2 million on only a $20 million budget. It's a hell of a return. And in fourth place, we have Alice Through the Looking Glass with $10.6 million. And rounding out the top 5 was Angry Birds with $9.7 million. James, how many did you get right last week, and how many did I get right last week?
That's the high five. You got 5, I got 0.
Yeah. I'm going to gloat. I don't even care. Last week I predicted, for starters, I have to give you a little bit of information. Popstar, the Andy Samberg mockumentary film, which also debuted this week, essentially bombed.
No, it did.
Yes.
For sure.
I didn't check out the budget numbers.
I'm pretty sure their budget was $25 million.
Yeah, so their opening this week of only $4.7 million is alarming.
Very rough.
Yeah. Considering there was a solid media push on this one too, so you got to figure they at least doubled their budget in marketing alone. So, and this is not a movie that's going to do well overseas. It's highly Americanized and all that, so it's not like a comic book movie that's going to open great. So those numbers are insane. Jimmy had that at number 3. And I made a point to say this movie will not make it into the top 5. Where did it end up? 8th. Boom.
Another high five.
With that being said, I actually saw that movie and I kind of liked it. I gave it a 6.1 out of 10, and going into it, I thought it was going to be awful. If they wouldn't have done the mockumentary feel and just made it a normal movie, I think it would have been even better, but that's just me.
Is it safe to say that Andy Samberg is box office poison?
I think so. I mean, he killed it on TV. He's got that Brooklyn Nine-Nine show.
He's great on SNL, right?
Yeah, and I think, I liked That's My Boy, and I liked, for the most part, Popstar. So I think just people don't respond to him. They're creative as hell. The jokes they make are really in-depth. Like Lonely Island, they know how to write. It's just, they don't have that draw. So I picked all 5 right. It specifically said that Popstar were not making the top 5, and James played Boggle, essentially, with the top 5 and had him in all the wrong spots.
It happens. You win some, you lose some.
Exactly.
Sometimes you lose really big.
Yeah.
Which I did.
For the record, I think we are now tied in the overall rankings.
I believe we are too.
But back to the rest of the box office. So, number 1, TMNT, $135 million budget. So, bringing in the $35.2 million in his opening weekend can't be something that a studio feels positive about. That's $30 million less than the first film brought in its opening weekend. And it debuted in over 4,000 theaters. So that small of a return is pretty rough. It also only has 36% of Rotten Tomatoes. So don't see a whole big continuation going. Again, the international could save it because foreign markets love over CGI'd films. But,
China especially.
Yeah. But speaking of China, the number 2 spot, X-Men. That one dropped 65%, but it has made over $403 million worldwide, which is a good number, and it's going to continue to drive up. And it had a massive China opening, which means it's gonna make money, and the studio's going to be happy with it, despite a massive drop-off. Not a great domestic run so far.
In the 3rd spot was Me Before You, the Nicholas Sparks film. I'm sure it was a book before, right?
It was, yeah.
I don't know how this guy does it.
Well,
how many love stories can you come up with?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen King can write a bunch of horror stories. I guess he can write a story about teenagers falling in love.
Do all of Stephen King's movies do well, though?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because this guy seems to do it.
Yeah, well, his last, few, what's that? He had that movie that came out with Scott Eastwood as the lead.
Yeah.
Where he's about a cowboy and bull riding. That one bombed. And
it does make him probably really cheap.
Yeah. I mean, this movie had a $20 million budget, which is fairly high, actually, for just a romantic movie with
some bigger actors.
Medium level. Like Amelia Clarke, she's a big name, but not movie-wise.
I think she can still get a decent chunk of change if she wanted.
Probably. And then Sam Claflin, the other lead. So I actually like him.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me of a British Zac Efron.
That's fair. Probably good analogy. Good comparison.
Yeah. 4th spot, Alice Through the Looking Glass. Woof. This movie had a $177 million budget. To date, it has made $170 million worldwide in 2 weeks, which is not good for all you guys who are wondering. I know it sounds good. It's like, oh, it's only $7 million less than their budget. No, because it's opened up pretty much in all the markets it's going to open up in. You got to figure there's at least a $60 to $70 million marketing budget on top of that. Plus, there's hidden fees that we never hear about. So the studio's going to lose money on this thing.
Yeah, not good timing for Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
He's going on with some real personal issues.
Yeah, the rumors of domestic violence between him and
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard, my bad.
Can't help this movie either.
No. I don't know. I'm not sure it hurt at opening weekend. I think just the bad reviews did, but I bet you the second week and somebody was like, no, I'm not going to see this.
Yeah.
We don't know it's true. If it's true, we're not taking either side, but just the fact that the rumors are out there, you can't. There's no way you can spin this into a positive.
Not good for him.
Yeah. And then rounding out the top 5, Angry Birds. Solid number. I think it's done $280 worldwide so far.
Not too bad.
Yeah, not bad for a movie about a iPhone app game.
Yeah, that's true. Where it originated from is kind of impressive.
Yeah. One other news of note before we get into our top picks for next week. Zootopia, the film that you and I loved.
Yes.
Hit that Billy. $1 billion movie. With a movie basically centered around a talking rabbit.
Disney, killing it.
Yeah.
How many, what do they got, $2 billion movies now?
Yeah. They have the only $2 billion films this year so far.
That's something to say.
Mm-hmm. All right. So with all that being said, give us your top 5 for next week.
All right. I'm going to take another gamble because it's fun for me.
Well, it's a rough week, so I don't know if there's a whole lot of gambles going on because I'm not going to lie to you. I have no idea what the top 5 is going to be.
I'm a little torn. I think Warcraft.
It's hard to argue with.
I think Warcraft is going to go number 1 just because they have been marketing this film for 6 months.
Oh, easily.
I mean, just at
months.
the theaters with trailers, if not longer, probably since December. So I think Warcraft at number 1. I personally don't have any interest in seeing this movie. Feel like I've gotten the gist of it from the trailers.
Yeah, reviews have been 50-50 for it as well so far.
Yeah. But, I mean, it could have a big following because it's another video game movie. Number 2, I'm going to go with The Conjuring 2 because I'm not entirely sure of the timing of the film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if summer's a big horror release time, and I don't know how. I mean, it'll probably make a decent amount because people like the first one. Number 3, Now You See Me. The first one, I don't remember what it did at the theaters. Any idea?
I mean, it got a sequel, so it made at least a decent amount of chunk. I don't think it blew anybody away, but I think that one was more the long game run. Yeah. I don't think it debuted great.
And it was entertaining. It was an interesting take on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this one can still at least get the 3 spot. And then number 4, I've got Ninja Turtles. For the 5th spot, X-Men. I think it might hang on for another week.
Solid list.
But, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, no, trust me. I have no faith in my list. I have The Conjuring 2 number 1, mainly because I don't have any faith in Warcraft. I think, personally, I don't want to see it. I think a lot of people are going to be taken away from the overly CGI'd. There's not a particularly high number of stars in the film.
No, not even close.
And it's got Paula Patton, which instantly means the movie's not very good. She's an awful actress. The only reason she gets movie roles is because she's sexy. And in this movie, they turn her into her half ogre. So unless you're into that.
Yeah, I feel like they're going the Zoe Saldana way of Avatar.
A little bit, yeah.
Or X-Men. Or not X-Men, Star Trek.
Nope, not that one either. Oh, no, she's a human in Star Trek, though.
Is she human?
Yeah, you're thinking Guardians of the Galaxy. She plays a lot of aliens, folks. You gotta forgive James on that one. She plays a lot of aliens.
She's in too many sci-fi movies.
Yeah, it's hard to say that anybody's more typecast than she is.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, I'm gonna put Warcraft number 2, just because it's gonna debut to a solid number. Nina was the movie where Zoe Saldana played blackface.
Yes.
Hollywood, making dumb decisions since the dawn of time.
Yeah, come on. Really? Really, you're going to do that? In 2016?
Yeah. In 3rd place, I'm going to go Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Just because it's in its 2nd week. It'll probably have 50 to 60% drop off, which will put it at 18-ish, maybe on the good end. And 4th, I'm going to go Now You See Me. Again, I have no faith in this movie. I think it'll come in maybe around 15 to 14.
It's definitely possible. I mean, people are, I'm sure, still hating Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah. And the first one wasn't a huge... And sequels right now to mediocre movies are not doing well. Mm-mm. Huntsman didn't do well. TMNT did not do well. So
I think people are just getting sick of the remakes. Or, I mean, the sequels of movies.
I don't doubt it. And then rounding out my top 5, I'm going to go Me Before You. I see that movie having a solid hangover.
Probably
I don't think it'll drop more than 30 or 40%, which
good choice.
Will put it around 12, 13 million. So
good choice.
Yeah. Let us know what your guys' top 5 are. You can go to our Twitter at IHB Podcast, or you can hit us up on Facebook. That's the I've Had Better podcast page. Podcast 2 works. I built both of them. Podcast actually has more followers. It's weird. All right, so that was the show today, guys. I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please like this episode and subscribe to the YouTube page. That is the I've Had Better Podcast Network. Also, follow us on Twitter at the address I mentioned before, at IHB Podcast. And on Facebook, go like the I've Had Better Podcast page. And don't forget to invite your friends. It's very important that you spread the word and spread it like the butter.
It's a good spread.
It really helps to get the word out when other people join. And the more likes we get, the more shows we can do. And who knows, maybe one day I can even operate this thing where I don't have to go to work before.
That would be amazing.
It really would. James, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at _Kaiser_Soze or on Facebook as Jimmy Langos. And please don't forget to check out the website, www.ihbpodcast.com. And also subscribe and listen and please rate our iTunes account or page, whatever you call it.
It's the same thing. You can just find that by going to iTunes and searching IHB Podcast, IHB Movies, or I've Had Better Podcast. As always, I am Dominic Damore. You can follow me on Twitter at Dom Damore and on Facebook as Dominic Damore. How was the show today, James?
I've had better.
Well, it was better than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that's for sure. Good night, everybody.